All right, so today all I'm going to be doing is showing you a couple example problems using the product property and quotient property involving negative and zero exponents. So first let's start off with the product property. So if I have three problems here. If I'm looking at A, I have x squared times x to the negative fifth. Okay, that's going to be equal to x to the 2 plus negative 5, and we get x to the negative third, but we can't have a negative exponent. So since it's in the numerator right now, we're going to drop it down to our denominator. Our final answer is 1 over x to the third. In B, we have y to the third times y to the negative third. So we can rewrite that again as y to the 3 plus negative 3. And we get y to the 0th. But we know that anything raised to the 0th power is going to be 1. So our final answer here is going to be 1. Let's look at C. We have z to the negative 4th times z to the negative 7th. We can combine them together. It's the same base. So we have z to the negative 4 plus negative 7. So we have our base of z. Negative 4 plus negative 7 is a negative 11. And likewise, we can't have a negative exponent, so we want to switch its location because it is currently in the numerator. Remember, because it's over 1. So I can change that to 1 over z to the 11th. Awesome job so far. Keep it up. So here we're going to be talking about three problems involving the quotient property. So I have A, B, and C, but let's look at A. So A is x to the negative third over x to the fourth. Now, there's a few different ways to go about this, but I'm going to talk to you about the way I do it. I look and I see, okay, I have x to the negative third in the numerator and x to the fourth in the denominator. Which number is bigger? Negative 3 or 4? Well, 4 is bigger. So we're going to end up in our denominator. So we can do 4 minus negative 3. And we leave a 1 up there because there's nothing there anymore. So we put a 1. So we get 1 over, well, 4 minus negative 3 is x to the 7th. The other way to do it is if we have, I'll do it in purple, x to the negative 3 over x to the fourth. Well, we can drop down the x to the negative 3. So we get 1 over x to the fourth times x to the third. And using the product property, we get x to the 7th, which is the exact same answer. So there's two ways to go about it. Let's look at B. So we have y to the 9th over y to the negative 2nd. Well, again, I'm going to use the trick that I use. And I see, okay, 9 is greater than negative 2. So we're going to have y in our numerator. It's going to be 9 minus negative 2. And we get y to the 11th over 1. Or again, we can just write it as y to the 11th. If you use the other way to go about it, it's going to be y to the 9th over y to the negative 2nd. We bring up y to the negative 2nd to negate the negative exponent. We get y to the 9th times y to the 2nd, which is still y to the 11th. Same answer. Let's look at z. So we have z to the 4th over z to the 4th. It might ring a bell right here and say, oh, well, they're the exact same. If that doesn't happen, and it's common that it doesn't, well, we can apply our quotient property. So it's going to be 4. So z to the 4th minus 4. So we get z to the 0th, and we know that anything raised to the 0th power is going to be 1. So our final answer here is 1. You also can just look at it and say, oh, these are the same terms. So anything divided by itself is 1. Great job. And lastly, let's look at the two properties put together through three examples. So for A, I have x to the third times x squared over x to the negative fourth. we're going to simplify the numerator first. We have x to the 5th over x to the negative 4th. And now we apply the quotient property, and this is a great time to use my trick, where I have x to the 5th in the numerator and x to the negative 4th in the denominator. 5 is bigger than negative 4. So x is going to be in my numerator, it's going to be 5 minus negative 4, and I get x to the 9th. Let's look at b, where for b we have y to the negative 3rd times y to the negative 2nd in the numerator over y to the negative 5th. Let's simplify the numerator first. Using the product property, negative 3 plus negative 2, I get y to the negative 5th over still y to the negative 5th. And you might say, oh, well, these are the same terms again. Y to the negative 5th is in the numerator, and it's also in the denominator. Again, if that didn't happen, okay, you could switch the location of both of these, since we want to negate the negative exponent. So we get y to the 5th over y to the 5th, and then we can simplify by doing y to the 5 minus 5, which is y to the 0th, and we get 1. Okay, again, you could also say these are the same terms up here. Okay, if that rings a bell, go for it. If not, you can still apply the properties. And lastly, in C, we have z to the 4th in the numerator and z to the negative 3rd times z squared in the denominator. We're going to simplify the denominator first. Just want to carry over that z to the 4th in the numerator. Z to the negative 3rd times z to the 2nd, same base. So we add the exponents. So negative 3 plus 2 is going to be z to the negative 1st. I'm going to use my trick here. I have z to the 4th in the numerator and z to the negative 1st in the denominator. 4 is bigger than negative 1, so my answer is going to happen to be in the numerator. So we now have 4 minus negative 1. We get z to the 5th. Okay, you also could have done the other way, where we have z to the 4th over z to the negative 1st. I say, oh, I got to bring up this negative exponent and flip its location. So now we get z to the 4th times z to the 1st, and we still get z to the 5th. Same thing. You're doing a great job. I'm proud of you. If you have any questions, please reach out, but hopefully this video helps you. Cool.